Hey, Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you this layout I created using the Hello Baby, It's a Girl Mostly collection. I did use a couple of goodies from the It's a Boy. This stencil is actually one of those. So I have some modeling paste here that has a little bit of iridescent shimmer. It's actually Vicky Bouton from a Tuesday morning haul that I am putting through the stencil to create some stars as a background for the moon that I have cut out using my Silhouette Cameo. So I'm just spreading it through and I am moving the stencil, which it's really awesome that with these Echo Park stencils, the stencil goes all the way to the edge there. So I can line it up and not wait for the modeling paste to dry and actually not worry about getting smudges in that. Now I know that I'm going to have that moon on one side of it, that crescent, so I do not need to go all the way to the edge. I'm going to clean up the stencil here, set that aside to dry, and then continue to work on the rest of the layout. So I am going to mat my cardstock with this pink plaid, and in order to preserve the innards, because I feel like it's a huge waste, I am going to just gut it with a 1-inch border, and then I'm going to use some of the white linen cardstock from Cartabella, just trim that down by a 1/2 inch on either side so that I can then mat my cardstock with that pink there. I toyed with the idea of actually stitching a border around that, but I figured with that blue actually is what I had pulled out. But I figured I'm going to hand stitch the outside of the moon, and I felt like too much hand stitching was going to detract from that. So what I'll do here, and I'll fast forward through this, is I'm literally going to just use my sewing needle and poke stitching holes all the way around the outline of that crescent moon there. And then I'm going to just literally blanket stitch all the way around, over, under, and I'll fast forward through all of that. But there's something about baby layouts that hand stitching and baby layouts go together for me. So again, from the It's a Boy collection, I am going to use the cloud stamp. I have the stamps that actually have the accompanying dies to them, but coincidentally, this particular stamp that I wanted to use doesn't have a die. So I'm going to fussy cut these clouds out. So I'll show you one and then one and done. You know how that goes. So I'll skip through all of that as well. And I will have, I think I have 6 clouds that I'm going to use. And I love the way that that blue just kind of adds a pop of color and grabs your attention as you create this layout. So I'm going to put the adhesive down and then that cardstock there with the subtle texture to it. And then I'm going to adhere the yellow coordinating cardstock to that embossed paper there, because every moon needs to have a sun. Every moon needs to have a sun. What am I talking about? Every moon needs to have stars, right? So that is going to be the main background for these photos. So these photos are of myself when I was a baby. So you can absolutely use modern collections for vintage photos. That doesn't make me vintage though. And they are a little bit dark. So, but I was sleeping. And I toyed with the idea of scanning them in and brightening them up, but they are the way they are. And I didn't want to, I just wanted to leave them original as they were. So these are the brads, and I really wanted that deer to incorporate that chipboard deer into the layout somehow. So I'll pull it off and I'm going to put it on some wax paper as I just try and position things. But ultimately, I am not going to use that. I am going to, however, and I do this off camera, take one of the epoxy dots off of the brads because I'm not a big brad fan. And I'm going to use the epoxy dot just with a glue dot to adhere that down. It's another moon that's going to be sitting in those little blue clouds at the top left over there. And I'm going through the chipboard and the element stickers to just find some cute things that will go with the layout. And I've decided to use this die or this die set, and I'm going to make the title be Sweet Baby Girl, and I'm going to use that same yellow to draw. Right now that yellow is just a big eyesore because it's just there, but by incorporating the yellow into the title, I'm able to kind of move your eye around the page a little bit more, and it's not so bold sitting right there on that left hand side of the page there. So that will become the title of the page. Now I want just a tad more peak of blue, and I want something as a border to that right hand side over there. So I am going to just use that punch there. It's a scalloped punch, and just put it just a little peak of that scallop on the right hand side poking out along with that tag to just kind of, it adds a little bit to the layout. My visual triangle ends up being Sweet Baby Girl over to the photos where the journaling will be. There isn't journaling currently because I want my mom to write in there the next time I see her, and then over to that right hand side where that bib and that little tag are with the peak of blue. So that creates that visual triangle that I like to create movement around the page there. I had a hard time with covering up the back of this photo because my mom had handwritten 2 days old back there, but she's going to write again for me, and while it may not be time sensitive handwriting, it will still be her handwriting, and so I just had to suck it up because there was no way I was going to be able to get that writing on the back as well as the photos. I am very lucky in that I do have duplicates of a lot of these photos of me as a baby. My mom has a photo book that she made for herself, and then she sent a lot of these photos to her mom, who lived in another country, and my grandmother passed away, and I was able to take some of those photos, and so I have them available to myself for scrapbooking. So I've decided where all these elements are going to go, and I'm just going to stick them down. That blue tag I'm going to end up abandoning because that blue, there ended up being 4 spots of blue, which didn't work, and I put that lovely sheep there because there's something about sleep and sheep that go together, so that's why I went with the sheep, that cardstock sheep that's so cute. And with chipboard, I am going to use a liquid adhesive to adhere that down. I just find that it doesn't pop off the page. And yeah, glue all the rest of that down. I do use a liquid glue for those very fine die cuts that I cut out using the designer dies. And you could use a fine glue pen if you wanted as well. There's nothing wrong with that. You could also run that through a Xyron X, but I like this liquid glue because I find that it holds really, really well. It's a solid hold. So I'm just looking for some more stickers. There's tons of really cute animals and dies. Embellishments. You have the embellishment pack as well to choose from. So it can get overwhelming when you have so many choices and what goes with what, but what I did was I actually went with colors. I wanted a pop of that hot pink to go with the hot pink in the title that I used for baby, and I felt that I needed a 3rd spot of that hot pink, so I'll put that somewhere as well. That's a cloud because the cloud theme works with the rest of a sleeping baby. And that, my friends, is really the bulk of this layout. Have you used any vintage photos on any current collections? What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. I was pleased with the way that it turned out. If you have any layouts that you've done recently with vintage photos, I would love to see. You can link me up in my on my Facebook page. It's Suzanna Scraps, and I'd love to see what you've done similar to what I've created here today. So thanks for stopping in today. There are some close-ups that will follow. I hope you are doing well. Take care.